Yeah, here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Before You Bet. They're live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're new to the show, if you're not subscribed to the Covers YouTube channel, smack that subscribe button right down there. A lot of great content to be found here. If you are a sports bettor, okay, great big game here tonight. Can you tell I'm excited? I can barely speak. My Miami Dolphins hosting the Buffalo Bills, trying to get a big monkey off their back. Can they beat a good team? They're a small favorite. They should win this game. We shall see. We have 5 total picks here for the Thursday night football game. We also have Jake Butt coming along in the second half of the show, breaking down his favorite looks in week 3 college football action, breaking down some big storylines, and a couple of stories from the NFL and something fun for the end. So make sure you stick around to the end of that interview. If you guys want to participate in the chat, it is very easy to do so. Hit up that live chat on X, on YouTube. A couple of the guys in there, NASCAR expert, good work on MLB yesterday, 2-1, back-to-back 2-1 MLB days. So that's going in the right direction with the season winding down. Mark S., fire him up, Joe. Let's go. Yo, Amesh. What's up, brother Joe Oz? Indeed. The boys are all here. The boys are ready to rock. So let's get right into the action. Let's bring in our guy, the man with the sexiest smile in all of sports betting. I don't know if he's as fired up as I am, but this is the best game of the week here. I think week 2. You excited for this one?
Yeah, I'm really excited about tonight, and I hate to do this to you, Joe, but I'm actually leaning on your Dolphins today. I know Josh Allen's done so great against the Dolphins, but didn't love what I saw, especially early with Buffalo versus Arizona, going down 14-3 pretty much through 30 minutes. But I got some -1.5 and pick 6, so I'll be cheering for that.
Okay, so here's what I will say. I'm not betting on the spread. I'm not betting on the money line on this one. I have a bet on the total coming up here in a moment. But as a Dolphins fan, I am a loyal fan. I am a hardcore fan. I am also a realistic fan. And this is a movie we've seen before with the Miami Dolphins. They throw you off the scent. They come out with a promising win here in week 1. And people, hey, maybe this year's team is different. I don't know, guys. I've seen this movie before here with the Dolphins. We have a poll up in the live chat. Let us know what side you guys are on here. Tonight, a lot of things favoring the Dolphins here on their home field. So we shall see how that goes from a win-loss and a covering perspective. But let's get into our bets. My favorite bet for this game, I like the over. I think we're going to get a shootout there down in South Beach, going to go over 48.5. So these teams have combined for some high-scoring games here lately. They've cleared 60 combined points in 3 of their last 4 games against each other, a 68, a 65, and a 61. Now, you might say, well, Joe, I don't know. Miami only scored 20 points on their home field there in week 1. I think that 20 points was misleading. 400 yards of offense. They only got to the red zone 2 times in that game. That's a bit unusual considering the 400 yards of offense. This is a team that averaged around 32 points per game on their home field last season. Then we look at the Bills' offense. All they did in week 1, from quarter 2 to quarter 4, they dropped 34 points. So I think their offense could come out humming here as well. We know Josh Allen has a lot of success against this team. More on that here in a minute. But I think a high-scoring game. Jingles, you have 2 props, 1 for each quarterback. Get us started with my guy, Tua.
Yeah, let's go over 22.5 completions, -105. We'll hit that soft market here as probably the best things to do, best places to look at when you're betting Thursday on these numbers. But obviously, Buffalo issues in coverage. Matt Milano, best coverage linebacker, obviously there, but also lost slot corner Teron Johnson. And this was a team that was coming into the year without both of their safeties. So there's issues there. Kyler Murray put up below average success rate versus this defense last week, but still completed 67% of his passes, positive CPOE. So what's that telling me? You can get passes, you can get easy completions. And Miami, if you watch Miami, I'm sure you did, Joe, there was a lot of dinking and dunking within that offense. And it was interesting. I don't need Tua to throw for 300 yards. Quick hitters take care of this injured secondary. And I think they can obviously exploit that slot cornerback because Tyreek Hill was playing 50% of slots last week. Justin Fields averaged the exact same average intended air yards per throw as Tua last week. So didn't take a lot of shots. Everybody thinks this is an offense that just goes deep. Well, that's what teams game plan against them for. So they'll take what they gives them. Give me 23, 24 completions because that's where Tua averaged in each of his games last year at home. And that was with going 7-2. So negative game script or neutral game script in her favor.
You'll see if Mike McDaniel goes back to the well with the dinking and dunking. I thought there was a little bit too much of it in week one, but especially like a lot of those passes didn't go for very many yards, but they did connect on them. And that's all that matters for your bet here tonight. So hopefully, go back to the well if you want. Hopefully break a couple big ones on those dinking and dunking plays, though. Okay, next up, big one. My favorite prop of the season so far. I put this one out there on Twitter. Almost 2 million impressions. People are going crazy. I'm going to ask for a raise. 2 million impressions, ladies and gentlemen, on X and growing. Okay, it is on Josh Allen, the passing yard total. It's at 245.5, and he has absolutely torched my Miami Dolphins. Recent history of domination against Miami. It cannot be ignored here. He's averaged 347 passing yards against them in the last 5 games. Absurd. No fewer than 304 for his career. He averages 280 against the Dolphins. So still some breathing room here at 245.5. Pretty good track record on Thursday Night Football. Some people, they don't like, you get weird results on Thursday nights. Josh Allen's been really good on Thursday night. 6-0 in his career. Averaged at 265 passing yards in those 6 games. And don't jump to conclusions about the Bills' offensive game planning here, just based on week 1 against the Cardinals. Yes, they did run the ball more. So are you telling me as a result of that, they're all of a sudden just going to handcuff Josh Allen here, the second best quarterback in the league, and limit him? I don't think that's going to be the case. Now, I put this up on Twitter, like how he's absolutely killing the Dolphins and what the number is at, and I'm getting pushback about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I thought everyone was telling me that Stephon Diggs is washed up. And Gabe Davis is not a serious number 2 receiver. So it is kind of backing the trend here of Allen killing them. And that said, though, the number's not set at 299.5. This is a very fair number at 245.5 based on the fact that he's averaging almost 350 against them in his last 5 games. So, Josh Allen to throw for at least to probably get to 250 here. So, I like that one quite a bit. Allen over 245.5. And you have a prop bet you like for Allen as well.
Yeah, just touching on some guys in the chat. James Ferguson saying rain and wind. Kevin Roth came out today and said that there's going to be some showers in the afternoon. Yeah. Probably finish around game time. There might be some isolated stuff, but nothing really worrisome. I don't think the wind's an issue. I think it's around 5 miles an hour. Amish dropping, said he got on that blitz play yesterday. Allen under 9.5 rush yards. Got the minus 140. We released it at minus 135, but we're still running the 8.5 here. And that's what I got. Josh Allen under 8.5 carries, minus 105. We're probably closer to the buy point. Maybe minus 115 is where you want that. Open at 9.5, which is an absolute insane number considering week 1, it closed at 7.5. The Blitz's projection, 6.75. Head over to covers, head over to NFL prop projections to find those numbers as well. And look what happens with Josh Allen's playing hero ball. He's got a boo-boo on his hand, his non-throwing hand. Guess what? Scale him back. That is very important within this offense, keeping him healthy. We saw in the touchdowns, not a lot of designed runs for Allen, and hopefully that trend continues. But this was a guy who went under this number in his first 11 games of the season last year. Obviously, the change in OC is a little different, but quarterbacks need to be protected earlier in the season. Watch out for the design runs. Yes, he might blow this up within some straight scrambles, but you're telling me last week as a giant favorite, 9.5, and now he's more of an underdog here at 8.5. I don't really see it because we got to always count, Joe, when we're talking about carries, quarterback kneel downs. And when you're a 9-point favorite, you kind of got to throw one in there in the projection. As an underdog, you might not get that chance. So as Derek Carty likes to say, not a lot of kneel down equity within this play. Give me Allen under 8.5 carries. Let's go. Be sweaty, but let's get a winner here.
Yeah, we want Allen moving the ball through the air, not on the ground here. Closing in on 1,000 live viewers. Guys, hit up that live chat. Let us know what your favorite prop is for the game here tonight. If there's anything in Major League Baseball you like, let us know as well. And let us know always where you are watching from. Before You Bet is an international sports betting program. Okay, one last bet, and we are going for, here's a hint. I'll give you guys in the live chat a second to guess who I am betting on based on this clue. That is,
I don't even know. I know you're picking. I don't even know the answer. Sidney Crosby.
the guy who does the waddle.
Oh, good. Okay, I get it. I'll get it. I'll give it to you.
You can't really do it too good in the way they have us.
Not
It's going to be
that frame.
a full body thing. Okay, yeah, I like Jalen Waddle to go over his receiving yard total, 64.5 receiving yards. This guy's at his best when playing at home in Miami. Career average of 80.4 receiving yards per game in Miami. He went off for 109 yards last week, despite only having 5 targets in that game against the Jags. This is a guy who averaged 7.4 targets per game last season, and maybe some extra room to work tonight based on what we saw out of the Bills defense in week 1. They really zeroed in on Marvin Harrison Jr. They schemed to keep him out of the game, did a very good job. Now, I doubt they'll have the same success stopping Tyreek Hill, but I think there's potential for some extra attention to be paid to Hill. And as a result, some extra room to work here for Waddle. So maybe Tua finds them wide open for a couple long ones here. And that's it's not a crazy number, 64.5. So we'll take Waddle to go over that one. A couple of the fellas there in the chat. Seth Hale, guess Waddle. Amesh, Pittsburgh. No, Pittsburgh, I won't be betting on the Steelers. No one wins ugly like the Steelers, by the way. That should be punishment. If you want to punish your children, put on a Pittsburgh Steelers football game for them. They will not enjoy that. Okay, so there you have it. 5 total bets for us for the Thursday night football game. This has potential for me to set up my entire week of just happiness, pure joy. I do not expect the Dolphins to win this game. They do not win games like this. They got to get this monkey off their back, though. Would it surprise me if they win? No. Come on, Miami. You got to get over the hump here. Early season game against the Bills. You can do it. Can't keep getting.
You were on Buffalo, Miami 1-2 in the AFC East too, right? Like to begin the year. I think I was Buffalo Jets, and don't like the way that looks. I'd rather be in your position right now.
Yeah, plus money on that one too. Any order it was for Buffalo and Miami. I forget, was it plus 140 maybe? I think it might have been for that. Yeah, so loving that bet based on what we saw out of the Jets there on Monday Night Football. We'll see how they do versus the Titans here on Sunday. Okay, so Jingles, we're going to be right back at it tomorrow. Tomorrow is the mega football show. Jake Butt coming right up, by the way. The show's not over. Jingles segment is coming to an end, though. So we're going to be right back with you guys tomorrow, Jingles and I, with an avalanche of NFL plays. So, buddy, best of luck with those bets here. Hopefully, when you come on the show tomorrow, we'll be celebrating a Dolphins win, and we will catch you again tomorrow.
Yeah, Allen over yards. Allen under rushing. Let's get it all, Joe. Thursday night. We got a good one here, pal. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Okay. Jake Butt. Let's throw it out time for our weekly chat with former Michigan Wolverine, former draft pick of the Denver Broncos, currently doing great work for the Big Ten Network. Jake Butt. Jake, how we doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. It's a little chilly up here in Chicago, so I got my coffee, and yes, I have pumpkin spice creamer in there. I'm not afraid to admit it. That's not a knock on my masculinity. It is delicious, but I do have to apologize to our viewers. The lock of last week was Iowa over Iowa State, and I'm getting ready to call my game, and I see Iowa with a convincing lead. Never did I think that they would lose the way they did, abandoning the run and giving up explosives on that is so anti-Iowa. They're starting tight end without a catch. So yeah. I apologize for putting my belief probably prematurely in the Hawkeyes.
Swing and a miss on that one. You nailed the NFL pick, though, with the Vikings, though. So we'll try to get a little bit of a bounce back here going into this weekend. And nothing wrong with that pumpkin spice. You got to lean into those seasonal flavors once in a while. Okay, so a bunch of topics to hit on, mainly college, a little NFL, big game tonight down in Miami. We'll get your thoughts on that. But let's start with your former team, the Michigan Wolverines. So the state of the Michigan Wolverines are coming off of a lousy performance there last week. They lose 31-12, a garbage time touchdown needed to get to that 12 points. They look to be in a good bounce back spot here this week. Arkansas State coming to town, Michigan favored by 23.5. Your thoughts on the state of your former team?
Look, I'm calling their game this weekend, so I've watched the game versus Texas and Fresno State many, many times. And look, the film's not great, but here's the context. Fresno State is a fringe playoff team. Like, what if they make a run? They can win 9-10 games this year. What if they win the conference? Could they sneak in? Texas is in that grouping of Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, and then a gap. Though the national champion will come from one of those three teams. Texas is in there. Texas is going to make a lot of teams look silly. So I'm not making an excuse, but that context matters. I think we have to reset our expectations. And this is a big week this week because Arkansas State has issues defensively. They struggle in their run fits. They struggle to stop the run. Michigan has got to dominate, They're one of the worst teams in explosive runs, 10 plus yards yards of 10 plus, runs of 10 plus yards, runs of 20 plus yards. That's not their MO. It has to change this week. So, the good thing is they're correctable errors, but this is football. You have to correct the errors for us to fully believe in you.
Okay, so still early, not a great start for the Wolverines. One team off to a great start, though, Nebraska. I'm wondering if you think they're a playoff dark horse here. So outscoring their two opponents 68-17. They're plus 700 right now to make the college playoff. The schedule does get harder later in the season. They have Ohio State and USC. Looks like an easy one this weekend, though. They're a modest 32.5-point favorite versus Northern Iowa. So what do you think of that? Plus 700 for Nebraska to break into the playoff this year.
I think that's great value. And it's a great opportunity to take a long shot on a team because, yes, you mentioned Ohio State, but look at the schedule leading up to it. Can they be undefeated? I think it'll be 7-0 before they play Ohio State. Think about the confidence of this Cornhuskers team if that comes to fruition. What I've said is Nebraska is not these past 5 years, they're not a bad football team. They do what bad football teams do, which is turn the ball over. You cannot win having the turnover margin that they've had. Last year, through 2 games, their quarterback, Jeff Sims, was -7 through turnovers. They had 4 turnovers versus Colorado last time they played. This year, they got their 5-star freshman, Dylan Raiola. The team is +3, I believe, in turnover margin. So they have corrected the number one thing I wanted to see them correct, which is stopping giving the ball away. And all of a sudden, they look like a completely different team. Remember, historically, Matt Rule takes that jump in year 2. So this is kind of confirming what we expected to be true this year.
Okay, some good insight there. Okay, so one team going in the right direction, one team probably going in the wrong direction here. Dion Sanders in Colorado. They're now 1-8 in their last 9 games, I believe. A very disappointing performance last week versus Nebraska. Now they're going to look to bounce back. They're a touchdown favorite versus Colorado State. So my question to you, how do you grade Dion Sanders as a head coach on a scale of 1 to 10?
A 5, right down the middle, because I give a little slack to Colorado because they really aren't that talented. Like we have all of us, people are picking them to win the playoffs. They don't have the talent to compete at that level. They're a top heavy team. Shedeur Sanders is an elite college quarterback. Make no mistake about it. Travis Hunter, sure, he could be in that Heisman conversation this year. But aside from that, like their trench play really didn't improve. They've had to overhaul the roster, 40 plus transfers this offseason. That's not a winning formula. The issue is Dion does this to himself. Dion is the one, in Shedeur and the Sanders family is the one saying, when you play Colorado, it's your Super Bowl, right? And yet they're not backing it up on the field. What really concerns me is the post-game pressers in the division amongst the team. It does feel like, the old saying, a house divided against itself will not stand. That piece of this, pretty concerning for me for Colorado.
Yeah, a lot of off-field distractions for sure. And, they didn't show up last week. We'll see if they can bounce back here this weekend. Okay, so 2 games in here for most teams. Quinn Ewers off to a good start. He is the current favorite to win the Heisman. We got a long way to go, though. Who do you have as your front runner to win the award.
We have to acknowledge that the Heisman is at some level a team award, and there's going to be a huge amount of hype if Texas continues to roll and look the way they did, and it's behind Quinn Ewers. He diced up that Michigan defense, and it's a lot of credit to his head coach, Steve Sarkisian. They're operating on the same wavelength. They're going to be very, very hard to stop. I will say though, like again, when I'm looking at value, there's a freshman out of Columbus named Jeremiah Smith, who's I don't even think he's on most people's radar right now in terms of Heisman conversation. Man, that guy, he's absolutely phenomenal. 2 touchdowns week 1. Will Howard looks his way. He takes a hitch route like 60 yards to the house last weekend. Should have had another deep touchdown. This dude, Chip Kelly, their offensive coordinator, said this guy is an 18-year-old freshman, would start on every NFL team, He's a freshman in Columbus. That is their number one pass weapon in an offense that is going to be explosive year round. Why not take a flyer on him? You talk about the value you can get. That one is looking real tasty.
Okay, someone to keep our eyes on there for sure. Okay, let's get into a little analysis for some of the bigger games, some best bets, and we're going to end the interview with something fun here. So, not a whole lot of big games here on the college football schedule, but one of interest, Friday night. It's the new Fox Friday night game. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this one. Arizona taking on Kansas State. Both teams off to 2-0 starts. Kansas State favored by 7, total on the high end, 59.5 points. How do you see this one going down?
It's a battle of 2 conflicting matchups. Like Kansas State has they got a 3-headed horse running the ball, different packages, gap scheme, zone scheme. They do a lot of quarterback runs. Whereas Arizona, kind of continuation, Jed Fish is now the head coach at Washington, but they've developed this identity of high flying offense. And they got that elite receiver, McMillan, who came off for like 300 yards week 1. So it kind of depends which matchup you like more here. But this is what I'll say. Kansas State playing at home, that's a tough environment. I also think in a big game like this, it settles your nerves to be able to run the ball. Arizona's linebackers are all over the place in terms of fitting the run. So I believe Kansas State will have success running the ball. On the flip side, McMillan, week 1, we talked about him having 300 yards. Well, then they come back week 2 and he gets bracketed. He had 2 catches for 11 yards. So if you're Kansas State, you're sitting there saying, let's just double team this guy and let's see if Arizona can match our output as we control the clock offensively. I kind of like Kansas State in this matchup.
Okay, we have another 7-point spread for a game here on Saturday. LSU, South Carolina. Tigers favored by 7, a total of 49. Now, sometimes you have to be careful with these trends in college football carrying over from season to season because there's a lot of turnover with the players here. But LSU on a run that's seen them go over in 17 of their last 19 games. What do you think of this matchup?
Well, one thing that's interesting here too is I was reading the weather reports and it sounds like it's like 68%. There's like a tropical storm coming to town. Like this could be a very rainy day, which what does that mean? Offensive line and your ability to run the ball. In South Carolina, they're off to a 2-0 start. They got some talent, some ability to run the football, and their defense is much, much improved. I think College Game Day is going to be there. It's a juiced up environment. That being said, LSU is a team I got to figure them out. I don't quite know who they are and where they want to be. They have 2 first-round talents at tackle going up against an elite South Carolina defensive line. It's a race to the quarterback. Can the Gamecocks get home? Can they disrupt the passing game of LSU? It's going to be hard against those tackles, but this is one that kind of how much do you think the weather is going to play a factor in this game? And then from there, do you think South Carolina's new identity and toughness can overcome the talent of LSU?
Okay, so those are a few of the bigger games of the week. What would you have earmarked as your best bet of the week here in college football?
Man, Oregon State, that's a big line. I got it at plus 14, right? So there we go. How about that? Great timing.
Producer
Oregon
Matt.
struggled. I believe we're still looking at this as like, I set the expectation this entire offseason. I said, Oregon and Ohio State have the best rosters in the Big Ten. Ohio State, there's a huge gap right now, just based on the film between Ohio State and Oregon, Ohio State and the rest. And where it starts up front is up front, the trenches for Oregon. They have not been able to get a run game going. They have not been able to stop the run. Look what Boise State did to them last week. Here's the concern. Boise State, we know with Ashton Jeanty, he's a Heisman candidate, right? Boise State has the 6th best rushing attack in college football right now. Oregon State is 5th. So both these teams know how to run the ball. And Oregon, we now see on tape, has struggled to stop the run. This is a rivalry game. You know the Beavers are going to be juiced up because they're the ones that got left behind. They're forgotten about. They're the remains of the Pac-12, and Oregon's now with the big, sexy Big Ten. This is going to be a fun matchup. 14 seems like a lot of points to try to cover for the Ducks.
Okay, let's go Beavers. Okay, let's go to the NFL here. Probably the game of the week in the NFL going down tonight in Miami. The Bills in town. Dolphins are a small favorite in this game. Total on the high end for an NFL game at around 48.5. Now, we know the stories of these two teams. The Bills have pretty much owned the Dolphins. The Dolphins really struggled against quality teams last season. What do you think of the matchup tonight then in South Florida?
The Dolphins do well, and Tua does well in good weather and warmer weather, right? Like he's two different quarterbacks, and here it is early in the season at home. I'll also say this, like, just think about this offense versus defense. You have an offensive coach versus a defensive coach. Offense is reactionary, right? And you got Coach McDaniels down there with all those weapons. You know, here coming off a short week, that benefits offenses actually, especially early in the season when you don't have a ton of tape on the new wrinkles they want to put out. I'd expect the Dolphins to come out firing and have some new wrinkles that the Bills are going to have to react to and adjust to. And, you know, for the Bills, what are they really better, or is it the same story where it's like Josh Allen, save us? Like, here, Josh Allen, please save us today. Save us once again. That part concerns me again early on a short week. I know Josh Allen has that injury on his offhand, his left hand. To me, this feels like a nice chance for the Dolphins to get a win and get back a punch against the Bills.
I got to get that monkey off their back here, Miami. This is a movie I've seen before, though, Jake. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. You know, they get your hopes up. They had a nice win, a nice comeback win last week, something they don't typically do. The offense seemed to find their timing as the game went on. I think we're in for a shootout down in Miami. It could be a fun one.
Something's got to give, Joe. Like, eventually, right? Like, it can't just hit red at the roulette table forever. Eventually, it's got to sway back to black, right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of growth. I mean, we look at that game last week. They typically don't win games like that where, you know, there's a lot of adversity. They were losing for about 90% of the game, and they rose to the occasions on both sides of the football there in the second half of the game. Okay, so last week you gave out the Vikings as your best bet of the week in the NFL. No sweat whatsoever. Embarrassing performance there by the Giants. Who do you have as your best bet of the week in the NFL here?
Chargers, we were looking at it pre-show. They're now, it was at 6.5, which I liked. 6, I love. And I just, the Panthers, so it's the Chargers versus the Panthers. That is a completely dysfunctional organization. And I feel for Bryce Young because when you have a small quarterback, we're seeing this across the league with Kyler Murray. We're seeing it with Oregon in college, with Dylan Gabriel. You got to protect him. You can't protect him. And the issue is that here comes Jesse Minter, the new defensive coordinator of the LA Chargers. That's a guy that I know very well from his time at Michigan. That is an elite defensive mind. That looked like a completely different defense in week 1 against the Raiders for the Chargers. And really a completely different team. They have an identity now. They're committed to the run. And they're saying, hey, Justin Herbert, we believe in you. We're going to make it easy on you by protecting you and running the football and playing great defense. You don't have to be superhero. That exact opposite of what the Bills are doing. This feels like the Chargers are going to be in complete control for the entire game. I know it's on the road. I know it's cross country. Jim Harbaugh's a phenomenal coach. He's going to have his guys ready.
Yeah, a lot of people in the betting community were actually kind of high on the Panthers this season. Not to like get into the playoffs, but improve since last season, go over their win total. But they didn't really give us much of a glimmer of hope there in a week 1. They might be worse than they were last season. They might be headed for that top overall draft pick here once again in 2025.
The Chargers probably that was a sloppy week 1, right? But some of the ways they've lost, they improved upon. Like the defense looked completely stout. boy, was it good to see them run the football. Justin Herbert, he looks more comfortable when he has protection and the ability to run. They're going to improve week over week. Like, that is what Jim Harbaugh does. I played for him. He's a phenomenal coach. So I'm riding with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers.
Okay, let's end here with something fun. Of course, you spent some time in the NFL, and here's how my mind works here, Jake. Like, you're watching an NFL game, and they're showing all the guys on the sidelines, and they're just dripping in the team gear, the nice hoodies, the hats, the jackets, the sweaters. And I think to myself, can they just have all of the team gear that they want? Is all of that just free to them? So how does that work? And what are some of the perks of being an NFL player that a lot of people might not think of?
That's like actually kind of one of the downsides, because you think you're going to get a ton of free gear, but you really don't. And it varies team to team. Don't get me wrong. You get some sweet gear. You usually get like one of each: a hoodie, a quarter zip, a polo, a shirt, shorts, sweats, all that good stuff, gloves, shoes, cool. But it's not like unlimited. And at some point you go into the equipment room and say, hey, can I get blah, blah, blah? And they're like, dude, no, get out of here. Like, you cannot have unlimited gear. Probably one of the best things, and like right, wrong, or indifferent, people treat you differently when you're in the NFL. You get it, you make a good living, and you get more free stuff than at any point in your life. Restaurants, you can get a reservation. Concert tickets, usually you just call up your agent, say, I play for what team? Okay, here's tickets waiting for you. You get to skip the line at bars, or private access to stuff. I was out in Denver, the Red Rocks musical venue, beautiful venue. I got to go underneath to like multiple concerts and like hang out with bands back there. And I was an injured tight end, but I still got the perks. So I'd say that's the coolest part.
I'd imagine they feed you guys pretty good too. It can't be too much craft dinner and chicken fingers and French fries, right?
Team to team, though, I'll tell you this: like, you ever see those reports at the end of the year where like each play? So the Bengals are rumored to give their players like Jimmy John's and like freaking pizza. Like, it's terrible. Denver, we were getting like grass-fed bison steaks and like flown in seafood daily. So it varies team to team. Denver, we had it pretty good though.
Yeah, they treat us pretty good here at Covers. We have a good pizza party every once in a while. When
Nice.
I do go on the road, a good stipend for my meals, decent hotels and whatnot. Not first class on the planes. I've only been here for a little over a year, so I'll try to work myself up to.
We got to hit on some more picks here, Joe. That we got to get you to first class. All right, that's my call. That's my duty to you. All right, we'll try to hit on some of these picks.
There we go. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so hopefully, go 2-0 here with your best bets here this week. So Jake, we will leave it at that. We thank you for joining. Best of luck with those bets, and best of luck on the call for the game here this weekend.
Thanks, Joe. See you next week.
All right. We put a poll up in the live chat asking you guys who you think is going to cover the spread here tonight. 55% of the people on the Buffalo Bills. I'm not a big fade the public guy, but I like when the side that I want is on the opposite side of the popular side. So let's go Dolphins. If you're just tuning in, and if you missed the start of the show where we broke down our Thursday night football picks, I can recap those right now. I don't know if producer Mick has the graphic for that or not. Maybe not. I like the over in the game of over 48.5. There we go. Over 48.5. Josh Allen over 245.5 passing yards. Waddle over 64.5 receiving yards. Then Jingles took Tua over 22.5 completions. Let's go Tua. You got to light it up at home here on Thursday night. And Josh Allen under 8.5 carries. Maybe a sneaky little one there. Okay, winding right down here, but the week is not over here at Covers. Tomorrow is our mega football show. The only football show you need for the weekend. Brad Powers, all the best bets for the biggest games in college football, followed by an avalanche of picks for the Sunday NFL games. You're not going to want to miss that. If you're betting on the UFC this weekend, UFC 306 at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Recorded that video yesterday with our best bets. That's going to be up on the Covers YouTube channel here shortly, probably within a half hour or so. So make sure you are subscribed to the Covers YouTube channel. A lot of great content here. You do not want to miss it. Okay, let us leave it at that. Hopefully, when I come on tomorrow, I will be greeting you guys with a big fat smile celebrating a Miami Dolphins win. I kind of doubt it, but we shall see. Hopefully, we can at least hit on some of these bets here tonight. So thank you guys for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets tonight, unless you were on the Bills money line or spread, and we'll catch you guys again tomorrow. Woo!